Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm sitting on my favorite velvet chair and I'm a little bit stuffed up, so please excuse the way I sound if I sound congested on here. Not COVID, so don't worry. Today's conversation is a little bit deeper and more in depth than I've gone before. And before I even start, I wanted to say that this video is not asking for pity or for attention whatsoever. It's more so just me sharing my experience, and it's something that I've been asked to speak on, and it's something that it's a topic I feel very close to, obviously, because it's something huge that impacted my life. And the reason why I'm even talking about it is because obviously I know that there's other people that have gone through this or something similar, and I just want them to know that they're not alone. And I kind of wanted to talk about my healing and grieving process, and maybe someone who's watching this is going through a grieving or healing process, or maybe they have gone through a grieving or healing process, or maybe they will someday. So this is totally just to be relatable and to show you and tell you that you're not alone. I'm the type of person who just kind of like sometimes plays a front like I'm totally fine and doesn't really want to open up too many emotions, because I feel like that just kind of makes me feel weak and vulnerable. But obviously this is something that is very close to my heart, and it's been a huge event in my life that's shaped me so much. I just wanted to share my whole experiences and my story with you in hopes that it will make you feel less alone and make you feel like there's someone there for you. If anything, you'll maybe come away with some tips on the grieving process, what to expect, and you might not experience something like this anytime soon, but maybe it can help you understand someone who is grieving. If you haven't caught on to the title of this video by now, this video is about losing a parent at a young age, and that would be my father passing away when I was 19 years old. I just really wanted to share my story, share what came after that, and share where I'm at now. I'm 25, I'm gonna be 26 this year in June, and my dad passed away February of 2015, so 6 years ago. And he was 64 years old. My parents were about 10 years apart. My dad, he was from Ireland. He grew up in Ireland until he was about 7, and then he moved over to England. And he moved to England, and this is so weird, I don't know if this is true, but my family all tells me that he moved over there because he was sick, because he had anemia, and back then doctors didn't really know what to do, so they said go to England for a better climate. So he went there and lived with his aunt over there. And then the rest of my dad's family came over to England, and they lived there until my dad was about in his 20s. But my dad was one of 10 siblings. My dad and my whole dad's side of the family were such a close-knit, tight group, and I have, I think, 30 cousins, and just a huge family. So being an only child, I didn't really feel like I got the only child experience, because I had so many family members that helped bring me up, and I'm just really proud of my family and the background of my family that my dad gave me. My dad moved over to the US when my 3 aunts, so my dad's 3 sisters, I don't know really the timeline, but all of them started marrying U.S. military men. They moved over to the U.S. and sponsored my dad's family to come over. My dad didn't want to. He was actually engaged to someone else, which is crazy. Then ultimately, when all of his family was going and his parents went, he made the move over to Long Island, New York. My mom grew up in Queens, and then she moved to Long Island with her family. And my parents met in a bar. They dated for 4 months before he proposed, and the rest was history. They were married for about 34 years. So definitely not a short marriage by any means. The story of, my dad's passing So February 5th, 2015 was a Thursday. I had a psychology or sociology class that I was in with my best friend, Carliana. And I think we purposely took the course together. I think it was sociology. We were watching this commercial with a father and a son who were, and it was just like a really touching commercial. It was all about dads and the relationship with the dad. I think it was like a Dove commercial or something, but I texted my dad during the day and I said, like, love you, Dad, thinking of you, or love you, miss you, something like that. And just because the commercial made me think of him. And I remember just saying to my friend, oh my gosh, my dad's gonna be so happy, this is gonna make his day. Like, he literally always gets so happy when I text him or whatever out of the blue. If I text him or call him, he'll be like, Scamp, that made my day. Thank you for doing that. And so I was like really happy. I just like thought it was gonna make his day. And when we were leaving, I was like, that's so weird. My dad hasn't texted me back yet. Like, I wonder what he's doing. And then I kind of went on with the day. And then it was actually, I think I was planning to go out that night. I had to get a reference letter for this program I was applying for in school. And I was trying to write an email to my teacher. And I was trying to call my mom to like ask for her opinion or her advice on how to like write the email. And she wasn't answering. And then once she finally picked up the phone, she was like, Delaney? And I was like, yeah. She's like, where are you? I said, at home. She said, are you alone? And I said, yes. Why? And she said, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. And obviously her voice was shaky and uneven. I couldn't really tell what was going on, but I knew something was up. I think at that point I called my cousin Anna and I said, something's wrong. Like, I'm really worried. Something's happening. My mom, I just had a really weird call with her. Like, this is what she said. And my cousin said, well, what do you think it is? And I said, I don't know. I think something's wrong with my dad. I think he's hurt or something. My cousin said, I gotta call you back or something like that. So she knew at that point. I was living in the sorority house at the time. And I went out into our common room, which was called the PJ Lounge. And I was just saying to my friends, and I was like, something's weird, like something's going on, I don't know what it is, but my mom's on really uneasy, she hasn't been answering me, she's acting weird, and I was just like sitting on the couches, like freaking out a little bit, but like still just kind of calm myself down. But my friend Carliana had texted me, and she said that she was coming over or that she wanted to hang out. And at the same time, my boyfriend at the time, he texted me saying he wanted to come over, wanted to hang out, and he would never really come to the sorority house because boys weren't allowed. So I'm like, that's weird. And I was in the common area, and I see both of them and coming up the stairs. And I was like, what's going on? Like, no, seriously, what's going on? And literally at the same time they're coming up the stairs. When they got to like the common area, my phone starts ringing and it's my mom. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, really, what's going on? And I was like, no, what's going on? And my voice like started to get really shaky, and I knew something was up immediately. So I went into my room, which was right off of the common area, and answered the phone. I said, Mom. I said, no, like, what's going on? And she said, Dad's dead. And I just like immediately started like screaming, crying, and getting super worked up and saying like, screaming like, no, like, Dad. This was all such a blur, but I'm sure like everyone in my sorority house could hear what was going on. But I just didn't want to leave that room. And I was just like screaming, crying, rolling around on the floor. And I literally just felt like a wreck. Like, I didn't know what was next. It just feels so like final and absolute, and it's so hard to wrap your head around. You just can't conceptualize what the next steps are, or what life is going to look like without a parent, or like what the next steps are gonna even be like. What ended up happening was he had a heart attack. My mom came home from work and found him on the ground, and she called one of our close family friends, and the police came with a grief counselor who helps you figure out who to call. So obviously what came after was something I could have never expected, right? When I was packing up my stuff to go home for the funeral, I just remember saying, like, what does someone even pack for their dad's funeral? What are the next steps for me? Like, I was driving up and I just remember saying, like, I don't feel sad enough. Like, I was bawling my eyes out. I was convulsing. I couldn't breathe, but yet I said I don't feel sad enough. Like, I don't feel like my like actions and like the way I feel equates to like how much love I have for him and like how sad I am that he's gone. Someone said to me, like, Delaney, you've literally been crying nonstop. I think you're sad enough. But it just felt like such a shock to me, and like I was still processing it so much. I had no idea like what was to come. Obviously it was really hard navigating this new normal, but having all my family around was so immensely helpful. Like, my whole entire family came in, people I hadn't seen in years. My dad's best friend from Ireland, who I consider like a second dad. Having them around was such a good distraction. All my friends came home, and so I really got to see like the people who I really care about and matter so much in my life. Like, the day of the funeral, I remember obviously being so torn up, and they let the family go in first. I saw my dad and just like wept, because obviously your loved one doesn't look as they look in their human life, but I just, you know, it was kind of nice to be able to see him again, obviously, because he's my dad. And at the end, they let all the families say goodbye, or a last goodbye. So all friends and, you know, not immediate or close family members left, and then they let the family just stay in the room. And it was a pretty big room. Like, I remember a lot of my family was still in there. Saying goodbye to him was the worst part. Like, I just remember like sobbing. Like, that was like the last time I was ever gonna see him. And I just remember saying like daddy, daddy over and over again, and my godmother was like holding me and like kind of pulling me away and kind of helped me like stand up and walk out. That whole week, like, although it was terrible, it wasn't even that terrible because my family was around and just having the abundance of people there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was miserable, but like having the abundance of people there and like all that love around you, and it felt so good. Like, I was so happy because all my family was there. But what really started to suck was when people started to leave. I know I'm not the only one that's gone through this, but I'm hoping that, you know, my journey afterwards helps at least one person.